How did ancient humans survive winter without houses? Imagine waking up on the coldest morning of the year. Snow covers the ground, the wind cuts through everything around you, and the temperature has fallen far below freezing. You have no house, no heater, no electricity, no waterproof jacket, and no weather app warning you that things are about to get worse. Your shelter is made from branches, animal hides, stones, and whatever else your group managed to collect before the storm arrived. For ancient humans, winter was not simply uncomfortable. It could freeze exposed skin, destroy food supplies, weaken the body, make hunting more difficult, and turn a small mistake into a deadly problem. So how did people survive freezing winters thousands of years before modern houses existed? The most important answer is that living without houses did not mean living without shelter. Ancient humans did not normally sit in the open snow hoping their body hair would somehow solve the problem. They used caves, rock shelters, temporary huts, windbreaks, and carefully chosen campsites to create smaller spaces that were easier to keep warm. Caves may seem like the perfect solution, but they came with problems. Many were damp, poorly ventilated, difficult to heat, or already occupied by animals that were not interested in sharing. Some caves were also positioned far away from water, hunting grounds, or useful plants. When a suitable cave was unavailable, people had to build their own protection. A prehistoric shelter could be made from wooden poles covered with hides, grass, bark, branches, turf, or other materials available in the surrounding environment. Some groups also used large animal bones as structural supports when wood was difficult to find. These shelters were nothing like modern houses, but they did not need to be. Their main purpose was to block the wind, trap warmer air, and protect people from rain, snow, and frozen ground. A smaller shelter could sometimes be better than a large one. A huge empty space requires more energy to warm. A low, compact shelter filled with several people, bedding, and a controlled fire could hold heat much more effectively. Ancient humans were not trying to create a comfortable living room. They were trying to create a small bubble of survivable temperature inside a freezing landscape. Location mattered almost as much as construction. A shelter placed directly in the path of the wind could become dangerously cold, no matter how strong it was. Groups could camp near rock walls, trees, slopes, or natural depressions that offered protection. Sunlight also mattered. A location receiving more daytime sun could warm faster than one trapped in permanent shadow. Fire was the center of this entire system. Controlled fire became one of the most important technologies in human history. It provided warmth, light, cooked food, helped keep some predators away, and allowed wet clothing and materials to dry. But simply knowing how to make a fire was not enough. A fire needed fuel, protection, and constant attention. Wood could become wet or buried under snow. Someone had to collect it before conditions became worse. Embers could be preserved so the group would not need to start again from nothing every morning. During a freezing night, letting the fire die could be far more serious than forgetting to charge a phone before bed. The position of the fire also required careful judgment. Too far from the shelter and much of the heat was wasted. Too close and sparks could ignite dried hides, grass, or wooden supports. Smoke needed somewhere to escape. Ancient humans were managing a primitive heating system using nothing but experience, observation, and a very strong motivation not to freeze. Clothing created another layer of protection. Early clothing probably began with hides wrapped or draped around the body. That was useful, but loose coverings allowed cold air to enter. Over time, humans developed tools that could pierce hides and connect pieces more securely. Awls and perforators could make holes, while later needles allowed people to produce more closely fitted and complex clothing. Tailored clothing became especially important in extreme cold and wind. The secret was not simply wearing one enormous piece of fur. Multiple coverings could trap pockets of air close to the body, and that trapped air acted as insulation. Fur could face inward for warmth or outward for protection, depending on the material and conditions. Hides could also be used around the hands, feet, and head, where heat loss and cold damage were serious problems. Footwear may have been one of the most important pieces of equipment. Walking barefoot across snow or frozen ground would quickly become dangerous. Simple shoes could be made from hide and stuffed with dry grass or other soft material. They would not resemble modern winter boots, but even a rough barrier between the foot and frozen ground could make a major difference. Sleeping was another challenge. The ground could pull heat away from the body even when the surrounding air seemed manageable. Lying directly on cold stone or frozen soil was a bad plan. So ancient humans created bedding from grasses, leaves, hides, and other insulating materials. Prehistoric sleeping areas could be deliberately prepared rather than chosen at random. Several people sleeping close together also produced more warmth than one person sleeping alone. Hides could be placed underneath the group to reduce heat loss into the ground and over them to trap warm air. It was not luxurious, and someone probably always complained about getting the worst spot, but shared warmth could help the group survive. Food was effectively another form of heating. The human body needs energy to maintain its temperature, especially in cold conditions. Winter, therefore, increased the value of calorie-dense foods. Meat, animal fat, marrow, nuts, underground plant parts, and other available resources could provide energy when fresh plants became harder to find. Large animals could provide much more than meat. Their hides became clothing and shelter coverings. Bones could become tools or structural materials. Tendons could be processed into strong bindings. Fat provided concentrated energy. A successful hunt could support a group in several different ways, but hunting during winter was dangerous and unpredictable. This made planning and food preservation extremely important. Meat could be dried, smoked, frozen, or stored where conditions allowed. Some prehistoric people also stored animal bones containing marrow for later consumption, reducing the risk of depending entirely on the next successful hunt. Ancient humans followed the animals they depended on. They did not always remain in one location and fight the worst conditions directly. Mobility was a survival strategy. Groups could move toward lower elevations, more protected valleys, reliable water, forests with available fuel, or areas where animals gathered during particular seasons. Even Neanderthals appear to have adjusted their behavior as climates changed. During colder periods, they hunted cold-adapted animals such as reindeer, while during exceptionally harsh conditions, some populations moved toward warmer regions. Survival did not always mean defeating winter. Sometimes it meant knowing when to leave. Their bodies also offered some protection. Neanderthals generally had shorter limbs and broader bodies than many modern humans. This body shape reduced the amount of surface area exposed relative to body mass and helped conserve heat. Their large nasal passages may also have helped warm and humidify cold, dry air before it reached the lungs. However, physical adaptation alone was not enough. A strong body could not replace fire, clothing, shelter, food, and cooperation. The real human advantage was behavior. People shared food, cared for children, supported injured group members, collected fuel, repaired clothing, prepared bedding, and passed survival knowledge to younger generations. Social bonds helped early humans deal with difficult environments that would have overwhelmed a person living completely alone. Children had to learn which wood burned well, where animals moved during winter, how weather patterns changed, which locations flooded during melting snow, and how to recognize the early signs of dangerous cold. This knowledge was not written in books. It survived because people remembered it, demonstrated it, and repeated it. Winter survival was not based on one miraculous invention. It was a system. Shelter blocked the wind. Fire created heat. Clothing trapped that heat around the body. Bedding protected sleepers from the ground. Food provided energy. Movement helped groups avoid the worst conditions. Cooperation prevented one person's weakness from immediately becoming a threat to the entire group. Ancient humans did not survive because winter was less dangerous for them. They survived because generations of people made small improvements, remembered costly mistakes, and worked together. A better knot, a warmer layer, a more protected campsite, or a pile of dry wood collected one day earlier could change the fate of an entire group. So the next time you walk into a heated home, remove your winter jacket and complain that the room is slightly too cold. Remember the alternative: a hide-covered shelter, frozen ground, a carefully guarded fire, and several people arguing over who has to go outside and collect more wood. Subscribe to Anciently Human for more stories about life before comfort, explained simply.